that? It's perfect. You want to be that guy?
Wow. Do you want to be that guy? That's a good
No.
question.
You're not that guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me.
Happy
Good
Friday,
morning.
everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
We got the code bug.
It's true. Welcome to Decentralized TV, Crypto and Coffee. We talk about crypto. We drink about coffee. And I'm the Data Lord. This is Jaime. And we're going to talk about the markets and get into some stories for the day in case you're new here. Be active in the chat. We'll certainly give you shout outs. And Jaime was getting away from us. Look, he's code bug shout outs. I see you. You don't want to be that guy. Trust me. You aren't that guy, pal. Indo with the happy Friday.
Yes.
I see
Happy
you.
Friday. We're with you. Cheers.
He's a Friday kind of guy. Yeah.
He yeets everything in life. That's
He
my
has
kind
to.
of friend.
You can't be an Indo if you aren't. So them's the rules. Them's the rules. So let's look at the markets. Let's look at them. Wow, look at that. So Bitcoin again at a point of indecision. It's certainly trying to creep up a little bit to that 29. Jaime will go into why we think it'll retrace, but who knows? We live in crazy times. Nothing is for certain.
But I can tell you where it's headed by the trends.
Yeah, agreed. Ethereum, being a little brother, being a copycat, nothing interesting there. And then if we are to look at something interesting, it's that Cardano lost 5.6% over the week, and Polkadot did too. So a lot of this DeFi type apps, a lot of the Me Too altcoins, not Me Too the movement, but Me Too the little brother, just to be clear. Tron did pump a bit this week for no good reason. So interesting flat bear market. Hope you're excited. So looking at my Bitcoin trade view just in the short, again, this is not financial advice. This is just how I'm looking at it and what I might do. So these
Not
are
financial
our
advice,
candles.
everyone. Do your homework.
It's not. Do your own research. This is a piece of your research. Maybe someone else is thinking this way. Maybe this is a way to think. So these are our candles, mind you. Look at this crap right here. This 29 we're at is just bop, 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 bop. We're just tons and tons of ceiling resistance. And so, we're at that level again. And what do you think happens when you keep knocking on something? You either get rejected or you punch through it. And you better have enough power to punch through it. And there better be a reason you're punching through it. So I am still waiting for a big trade position because I'm not confident we have one yet. We certainly have a DCA position, because DCA,
Friday.
People who don't know, you just play the middle, bud. You play the middle and you get the medium price. It's like if you get a t-shirt and you get a medium large, it's extra medium.
Maybe your belly button shows, maybe it does not. But
you look great with that flesh belt, bud. The flesh belt's a good look. So Bitcoin, Jaime will get into deeply, but real quick here with the Dogecoin pickups. Okay, Dogecoin over BTC. That's kind of what you want to see. This red band I have here is the buy box that I'm thinking. So let me zoom out and give you a 4-hour just so you can see why that's the buy box. It's the buy box. We're under the water right now. So if you are for a long trade, statistically speaking, we are under this peak that happened right there. And so that peak, by the way, is before we went full yeet in 2021. So
thank you, Elon.
I actually think this is a good pickup. So if you're into trading altcoins, you're not gonna have a statistically bad position with this one. So again,
and put in what you can afford to lose.
It needs to be able to let it ride.
Yes,
that's Dogecoin style. Let it ride, baby. So if you can't pay your mortgage with it, you done played yourself. Don't be that guy, pal. You're not that guy. Trust me. And then Matic, interesting with Matic. So, Polygon Matic, we have this support range here. This green box I have is actually the underwater buy range. We are starting to enter that buy range. So we might go lower, we might not. I don't know how long the bear market lasts. Polygon's crushing it with development. So
Yes.
providing a lot of value. It's legitimate value. It's a good experience. So I think when word gets out on that, Polygon's probably going to be a much higher valuation. So the way I'm looking at this is I'm still waiting. I had this really nice trade here, little 4% trade. I'm waiting for an entry point on Polygon on my day trading though. So still waiting on that. And then Litecoin. We've been talking a lot about Litecoin. You need to pay attention to Litecoin right now because we're going into time frames where we're looking at the countdown for halvings. We're under 90 days until the Litecoin halving. So pay attention to Litecoin. You're going to see a lot of volatility in Litecoin, but easy 4% trade here. I'm liking that it's coming down. I'm still waiting for an entry point again with confidence, right? And the other crypto I want you to maybe pay attention to the price action on, because I am, is Cosmos, so Atom. And here's the deal with Cosmos. We've covered this quite a bit, but Cosmos has a inter-blockchain connector. Okay, and they're specifically building tools to tie many blockchains together and to do so elegantly. And they're doing a lot of things to provide
utility
tools that rapidly expedite how long it takes to get something up and running, because they've created microservices, which is just standard architecture, but most crypto's not applying standard cloud architecture practices. So great to see Cosmos do that. That being said, when the IBC interblockchain connector goes live, I think Cosmos is going to see a rip and tear in confidence, because until that comes out, I think a lot of people are just very speculative on Cosmos. But if you were to look at where it's been before, in that 2021, 2022 space, dude, this sucker went to like $44, and right now it's 11. So if you're interested in long trades, I think during the next bull market, Cosmos is going to be a big yeet. So I'm paying attention to this band here where we had basically a floor we bounced off of in these locations, and then when we tested it, we went underwater. And so
and now we're rising. If you notice, we're stepping up. We're doing higher lows in that step up. And what's different about Atom is the fact that if you're a company, so now on the utility side, and you have clients, or you're a developer, a consultant, and you have clients on different blockchains, Atom will be your inner blockchain connector. You can build for two different companies, and their systems can reach consensus with different blockchains. So that's the power of Atom.
It really does have the capacity to do private blockchains for companies too. So I'm looking at this hour for time frame, and every time it dips into this green, I'm considering entering a position. So that's
you know what,
that's
I will join you on
for
this
me.
one. I'll join you on this one, Daddy Lord.
Right around 10.78 is kind of my support line. If we go under 10.80, it's a pickup. And something that Tamp's community contacts have said is basically anything under 11 is a good pickup. It's a no-brainer buy. So I'm operating with a bit more scrutiny on that. 11, I'm thinking more something around 10.7, 10.5. So either way, that's how I'm thinking about this all. So Jaime, could you give us a
before you jump off though, guys, just look at the big picture. We are in the lower bands of the entire market. Wherever you get it, 10.78, 11,
sure,
even lower, these are good regions for the long term. These are not quick trades necessarily, but yes, for long-term transactions. Do your homework. But we, in general, Bitcoin, everyone else, we're in that zone. So you can't you can't make a mistake for the long run when it comes to these deployments.
As long as these blockchains don't have scandals that involve Sam Bankman-Fried, you're good.
Yeah, keep that boy out of the anything blockchain.
Yeah.
Keep him in the government. That way he fucks shit up over there.
Government cheese in the project. Highway, you wanna
Yes, sir.
go over
Let's
to the
do it.
macro on Bitcoin here now?
Yes. So I'm flipping over to it. Whoop-ah. There we are. So, guys, take a look at what's happening with Bitcoin. Even though it seems, oh, dude, it's not doing. I'm on the weekly time frame. I always look at the higher time frames for confluence, for less of a fuck you moves necessarily. But take a look at what's been happening in terms of the RSI. Bitcoin has been rising overall. It seems there's a downside at this moment. There could be a pullback. Of course, there can be. And one of the support zones, and you know what? Before I get into the support zones, please look at the formation of this candle right now, where we're at this week, right here. That is a dragonfly doji. Although it's still red, it's still rising up. And if it closes this way by Sunday, that is a good sign. Look what happened the last time we had that type of closure. The next one was a beautiful diller all the way to the top. So if you're a child of the corn, children of the corn, this is a good sign to be looking for. We may have a run up before we do a pullback. Now, if this closes differently by Sunday, where it starts lowering below, then you are more likely to see it coming down. Now, when do you enter in these? Not at this level, because this is high risk. It may break up like it happened over here, where we weren't clear. I had my buys over here, which was safer, but I missed it. So now here's where I'm looking at too. If it does come down, and now let me overlay the Gaussian channel in here. The Gaussian channel, look at this shit. Do you see? This is the 200 moving weekly average, the weekly 200 moving average. And this one down here is the 50. So these in and of themselves are good areas to look at for buys. Now overlay the Gaussian channel and look at this. We have the center, the middle of the Gaussian, right at the 200. So this is a very strong now concrete floor, not a balsa wood floor that you use for karate. It's impressive on video, but when you realize you can snap through it with your forehead, of course you can. It's balsa. So it ain't impressive no more. Well, in this case, you're looking at a little bit of a concrete floor to bounce off of. Not only that, if we do break below it, now we have the 50 moving average and then the bottom of the Gaussian channel with the last collapse at this level. So it's a weekly support. So we have quite a thick, just as we were looking up here as very difficult resistance to break through. You have a massive one here and a massive range over here between this 50 moving average and this breakdown point from the FTX collapse, which marked the bottom of the bull market thus far. So, and look at how the Gaussian has reacted. Like Bitcoin has always respected it. It clipped it right here and did the second higher high before we began the bear market in earnest. And when you zoom in the past, you always see the bottom. Look at the previous bear market. It held it and then finally broke through, and then it came back up to the median or the 50 moving average, and it held it as resistance and support. So you can see how Bitcoin price on the weekly respects, or you can see hesitation or hold before it either breaks through or pulls back. So we're at that point right now in the median, and that's where Brandon is looking for clarity at this moment, because we have the top up here at 30,700, and we have this massive floor at 25, let's say 26,000, rounded up, this range. So as long as the body of the candle stays above here, I'm a buyer over here. I'm a big buyer down here. On a higher range. You never go all in if you want to survive the trading and the swing trades. You just don't do it, because the market will we have black swan events and other things in life. So you never go full retard. Learn that from Thunder
It was
Thunder.
Tropical Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah, Lord, it's a truth. So in this case, just look at where the odds are in your favor. At this moment, we need a decision. Although the formation of the doji, of the dragonfly doji, looks very similar to this bottom down here. So we saw loss of strength. See this loss of strength? And it ended with a dragonfly doji before we had that run up. So in this case, here we are, another loss of strength with a dragonfly doji at the end of it. So if you want to bet, I would say we could have a run up at least to the 30,600 level, at least. But don't put too many eggs in the basket. More eggs, put them here and put them down here. That way, when we do see, because when we do this run up here, this may be the top, the higher high for Bitcoin before we see a healthy pullback. So at this moment, what we're trying to understand is, will Bitcoin do a run up before the pullback, or will it just go ahead and pull back now? But there needs to be a recharge of the rocket for a continuation and entry into the bull run over the summer or end of summer.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at currently.
Yeah, agreed. And keep in mind your time frames, everyone. We are in the bear market, but we've been in a bear market for a while. So as soon as you really start getting tired of a bear market, you can be assured that like there is sun peeking over the mountains. It's kind of how it works, like, and you'll be in a bull market wishing that you had paid attention during the bear markets and actually entered positions. So I'm telling you, right now is a really good time to be paying attention. You have a lot of opportunities. So. And
before you we flip to the next subject. This is the moment where when you enter, if you're day trading, of course, that's different. You're looking for these levels that Brandon looks at. But if you're looking for long-term entry, these are entries where the odds are in your favor for the move. And by the way, look at what Bitcoin's doing. It's doing the Dragonfly Doji, which is a bullish signal. During the time, look at what Standard & Poor's is doing, or the S&P at this moment. Let me flip it over here. Look at what's going on. For the week, it had this bearish engulfing drop. And what is triggering this is the fact that interest rates went up, and not even 24 hours later, we had another massive bankruptcy, bank going bust. So of course, what does Bitcoin do as a great Chad of finance? It starts rising as banks start failing. So it's looking very interesting summer, guys. And remember, Fed coin is being released in July, which is a CBDC, if you think about it. And the fact that there's rules where there shouldn't be a monopoly in banking, and yet they're asking Chase to start buying these failing banks. So it's almost like a nationalization that's going on. And this is why Bitcoin is reacting the way it's doing. Right. It's a hedge against the market events that are occurring, banking events that are occurring now.
And Bitcoin was made to be that way, right? And like, I appreciate you saying that too, Jaime. And to talk about that, our first article here is actually about exactly that. So, for those who don't pay attention to general, news politics, what we're covering what matters to the crypto space. So Federal Reserve raises Fed funds over 5% for the first time since 2007. And so I'm going to read this. Jaime is going to give some colored commentary on it, just because he has a lot of opinions about what happens when the Fed raises or lowers rates. So eToro's Callie Cox noted that Bitcoin has led the stock market in 7 of the last 10 Fed days. So the Federal Reserve announced a 25 basis points hike, which just means basically 0.25% is what's added to the federal funds rate. So, and Jaime will explain that after this article here. So raising the federal funds rate between 5% and 5.25% for the first time since or 2007, which, by the way, Bitcoin was made in 2007 to 2008 and launched live in 2009. So
Yes.
This is very much part of the context Bitcoin was created
So
for.
Satoshi and the cypherpunks were
Mhm.
actually watching all this and coming out like, how the hell do we create or engineer? Really, not create. They actually grabbed components that already existed and engineered Bitcoin's consensus methods, decentralization, the whole beast. So there is no power over, because there. This is what we're
Yeah.
seeing here. We're imploding the banking. It's almost like a controlled implosion. What's going on? And the
Controlled
interest rate.
demolition.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And uh, please note, in 2007 was the last time we saw this rate hike. What transpired in 2007 was the actual demolition or saving of the cronies, the big boys, the too large to fail, and let everyone else find their own future. And that's why Satoshi wrote what he said about these these saving of the banks while everyone else pays for the sins.
bailouts. Yeah.
Yep.
So
So we're
the
close, guys.
the 25 BPS hike was largely expected, though the hike comes after a slew of bank collapses. In the past couple of months, JP Morgan had to step in to buy, got to step in to buy the First Republic after it was seized by regulators. Silicon Valley Bank was abruptly seized by regulators after comments from the CEO caused a bank run. Signature followed SVB's suit a few days later, in Silvergate, which had a lot of crypto exposure, voluntarily liquidated back in March. The Fed omitted language that signaled further rate hikes, pointing to a potential pause.
Which happened right before the 2007 collapse. So, guys, history is rhyming.
Yep. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the Fed will be prepared to do more if economic activity calls for it. Will be driven by incoming data meeting by meeting, Powell said when asked whether or not the Fed would pause rate hikes in the future meetings. Our future policy actions will depend on how events unfold and who pays us. This is me saying it. Who pays us to give them insider information before we pull triggers?
You saw that Ukraine prank by some Russians with him, and where he actually said, "Yeah, I'm looking to raise it 2 more times." It's like, bro.
Yeah, bean flickers. The comedy will, or the comedy, that's funny. The committee, that's a Freudian slip. The committee will closely monitor incoming information and assess the implications for monetary policy. In determining the extent to which additional policy may be appropriate, the Fed said in its May release. So in March, Powell said it was too early to fully understand the effect of the banking crisis. And in the May decision, the Fed reiterated that the banking system is sound and resilient.
Not even 24 hours later, another bank failed. Big one, too.
Look, I know the house is on fire, but everything's okay. Everything is fine.
Bro, that's insane.
Don't panic. Let me get my stuff out first.
Meanwhile, you see sweat beads rolling down their head like, bro, if everything's fine, why are you sweating?
Yeah. Powell addressed the banking sector, saying that the Fed will be closely monitoring the banks. Oh, that gives me relief. Thank you for that. If the Fed starts to cut rates by the end of 2023, then the market has already priced it, and it is very likely the Fed will manage a soft landing, and financial markets will continue to grow. In case of some deviation in the plan, the risk of a recession of a longer period of high inflation will be increased, which can lead to the market drop, said Ruslan, chief of markets at Hodler. Good for you, man. So big old TLDR on this. Bitcoin is driven by macro events this year with a 25 basis point hike price in. There should be little reaction here, said Greg Magadini, director of derivatives at Amber Data, a crypto analytics firm. Guidance around a pause going forward should be bullish for BTC and could send BTC slightly around 29 to 30K.
The levels we talked about this morning, guys.
But without a surprise. I don't expect 30K Bitcoin be meaningfully surpassed. So he's saying it's easy to hit 30, no big deal, and even go beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Jaime, if you would explain to the good people what it means when, for the general economy, when we have price rate hikes, how
Yes.
does that generally affect the average person?
So, of course, the way we see it is in try to go buy a car right now, try to go buy a
Mhm.
house right now. Just the interest. I remember when um, the last time I bought a car, and it wasn't a fancy car at all. It was somewhat, it's like it was between 400 and 600 bucks. At this very moment, that same car goes for like 1,200 bucks to or above in terms of what you're paying, and it's mostly interest. So the vehicle still kept its value pretty much in terms of dollars, but because inflation is eating up at it, and now you have interest rate on top of that, it's you get hit in both kidneys. Before it was one kidney, now you're getting hit in both on your financial kidneys. So that's the challenge with these. Now, from a banking, you're like, but they're raising the interest rate. Why is the bank failing? Aren't they the ones charging the interest rate? Well, what's happening is that on the other side, internally, the banks do transactions overnight, and the interest being paid there isn't rising with at the same pace. At the same time, they were forced during the good times to buy treasury bonds that pay too little. So now they're so upside down, and they're just following the rules imposed on them by the Fed to do what they did. But they've literally flipped themselves to the point where they're almost cannot even pay interest only on what they owe the Fed and everyone else. And thus you see this collapse. So it's what you're seeing now is, and that's why when you raise the interest rate, all of a sudden, boom, within 24 hours, another bank goes down.
Mhm.
It's because they're getting to the point where they just can't hold it. And the Ponzi's being shown clearly at this moment.
Yep.
Now, because of the way they're moving and what's happening stateside, it's please note that we're going to start seeing it's almost like we're moving to a nationalization of the banking system instead of being
Certainly a
private.
centralization. Yeah.
Yes, centralized.
Consolidation.
Absolutely. And the
Mhm.
fact that they've already announced, but no one's talking too much about it, that the Fed coins come in. They're saying, no, 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 that's between banks. That's so we can settle it. But guys, that's the first step. The next step would be now everything below it, and us as citizens will be forced to use the Fed coin or this CBDC, central bank
Forced.
digital,
I give pushback on the term forced. We will be
compelled.
expected to.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and thus you look for these hedges, and thus you're like, shit, interest rates going up, inflation, it's settling, etc. And yet, and they're complaining that the economy is still too strong. It's like, guys, we're trying to make a living here. We're trying not to
Yep.
starve. We're trying to feed our families. We got to change this model
Trying to
somehow.
put food on the family.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
George Bush.
so, so that's what the what it's looking like, and thus people are looking at alternative assets like gold, like hedge assets. And gold you're seeing is
Mhm.
making new highs. So as Bitcoin is holding strong, as everything else, like the Standard and Poor's, is losing steam. So we are seeing Bitcoin perform as engineered. And as
Mhm.
we see more banks fail, I guarantee you'll see Bitcoin. Now, in terms of looking at the chart, yes, it does need to recharge batteries and do a consolidation period, which I think is what's going to transpire over the summer. Right now, we're trying to see, is there one more peak up, or do we just start recharging the batteries down to those
Right.
levels I mentioned? And these announcements by the Fed are killing banks. And not only that, you know that by
Mhm.
extension, it's going to kill banks globally. So what you're seeing here is a precursor to what's going to happen globally. The problem, and that's where I get a little bit angry, is that the common people, all of us, are affected by this.
Right.
Most people driving down to school right now, you're dropping off your kids or going to work. Everything looks fine, but what most people aren't seeing is the internal rotting of our fractional reserve system, where it works beautiful in bull runs or in growth markets, but damn, it cuts your nuts off when the market is going backwards. That's where you see the bank runs and failures, and that's why Bitcoin was spawned, engineered.
Right.
So
and keep in mind too, like when inflation's too low, this is what the infographics explaining too, people may put off spending because they expect prices to fall, which weakens the economy, right? And so yeah, if if inflation's too low, people put off spending. If inflation's too high or volatile, uh, it's hard for people to plan their spending because prices move up and down all the time. So like
right.
I don't know, like gas is $5 a gallon sometimes, right? We've seen it go as high as like 7 something. I think California saw 8 once upon a time. It's like that type of expense dramatically changes the cost of many other assets too. And then when there's moderate inflation, it does help people make more informed decisions. So, the Fed changes these basis points to basically act as one mechanism, and then to control spending. Because if rates are too high, people don't spend a bunch of money. If rates are lower, people go out and they get loans. But if banks don't feel that people can actually pay back the loans because of where the general economy is at, then they crank the rates up to basically push out unqualified,
High risk
borrowers.
loans.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
word.
borrowers.
Borrowers. Duh. And then the other mechanism they play around with is inflation. They put more supply, which weakens everyone's dollar. But the idea is by increasing supply, they're hoping that they'll see that stimulate spending.
The
So
economy. Yep.
and so it's a big game, and I wish they'd stop playing with it because we don't vote on this stuff. They turn these knobs without our permission.
Yep.
Or consent, and it affects our lives. And so that's why you should vote Bitcoin, right?
That's it.
Vote for Bitcoin, because there's no insider play with Bitcoin in the same way there's insider play with the US dollar. There's no monkey turning knobs. And
yeah, and it's a true store of value.
Yeah.
So with a hard limit, it's the most limited resource right now. It's engineered to be that way.
Yeah. So our next article, this is our headliner for the day. El Salvador president signs law removing tax on technological innovations. Is this bullish for Bitcoin? I'd say it is. So Bukele, the president of El Salvador and a Bitcoin supporter, has recently signed a law that removes taxation on technological innovations in the country. The Innovation and Technology Manufacturing Incentive, or the ITMI Act, revealed a broad spectrum of sectors where complete tax removal applies. Man, that makes me drool.
Yes, because now you can actually build without having to worry. Shit, let's set aside this money that we're just gonna send off.
Yeah. So while countries such as the U.S. administration wants high tax payments on technological innovations such as cryptocurrency mining,
30%, guys, is what they're pushing.
No bueno. This new law could go far in attracting innovation-focused companies, which will bring development to the nation. This dude is so freaking based.
Yep.
He gets how this works. I mean, he knows that El Salvador is not a big country. It hasn't been prominent on the world stage, but there's this huge opportunity right now for them to put a bunch of their treasury into Bitcoin and to incentivize builders to come into their space. So it's not just Bitcoin, it's tech in general, but tech that is Bitcoin friendly. So it's likely to be cutting edge. And as the rest of the world stage plays around with money as a weapon, he's not treating it as a weapon. He's treating it like a shield.
And he's growing his country. He's actually really looking and inviting outside the mines. Like, look at this: Coinbase leaving the States. Well, why not open up a location down there, R&D location, so they don't have to pay taxes on improving, and talent can go work there.
You're right. And real quick, shout outs to Gundy. I see you, brother. Happy Friday to you. Bukele, he gets this, and like I said, he's not using money as a weapon. He's using money as a shield
and building.
He's defending against other countries' weaponization of money and defending his country and his constituents, uh, by using this shield of Bitcoin. So it's really brilliant.
And look at what the World Bank, IMF, and them are threatening. While El Salvador is doing this, Bukele and the country are doing this. Just look at the threats they're doing. It's like it's going against their benefits. And when you would think that they should be looking for growth and actual improvement for the country, nah, it's to fill their pockets. So you can see the difference in philosophy.
It's not just to fill their pockets. There's a
Control.
bigger element. There really are globalists at the moment who have some agenda, that they have some people in different countries that they are working together to accomplish some pretty nefarious stuff. And they've come out about it. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is truly people openly conspiring to do these things. So, not to be disillusioned, we should just look for solutions, right?
Yes.
And Bukele is exactly doing that. He's creating solutions so that as other countries are robbing and harming people, they at least have some place they can find asylum and build something meaningful. So
absolutely.
So he says here, I've just signed into law the Innovation and Technology Manufacturing Incentives Act that eliminates all taxes: income tax, property tax, capital gains tax, that's the big one, and import tariffs on technology innovations, software and app programming, AI, and computer and communications hardware manufacturing. Dude, this dude just opened the floodgates. And when this works and lots of other people are considering expatriation in order to actually build something for their families, I think a lot of other countries are going to be like, oh, what did we just do?
Right. And the state's pushing all this.
I'm fascinated to see what the pendulum swing looks like after this.
And by the way, guys, we can drive to El Salvador. It takes about a week's drive, but we can get there. So
through Mexico.
We're not landlocked. That's right.
Yeah. El Salvador pushes for tech innovation by removing taxes. So Bukele took his official, or took off, how do I read? Took to his official Twitter handle on May 4th to say that he signed the new law to ensure that taxes on property, income, capital gains, import tax, software application programming, AI, computer and communications, hardware manufacturing. So if you're into helium, that's a joke. Manufacturing are totally removed going forward. So the ITMI signed act has been in the works as early as March 2023, when the El Salvador president made clear his intentions to introduce a bill to safeguard innovation or innovative technology advancements in the country. So he talked about it in March and he did it freaking May.
He's a doer.
This dude moves. Talk about the flippening. No kidding. Vamos El Salvador.
Vamos El Salvador. Adelante.
Yeah. Following his intentions, legislation was forwarded to Congress to eliminate taxation on technological innovations in the country. The newly signed law is one among the many efforts the El Salvadorian president has pushed for the technological growth and development of the country. And in January 2023, a Forbes India report carried the news that states the El Salvador had established a legal framework and process for issuing Bitcoin-backed bonds. Ooh.
Yep.
What is that? Also known as volcano bonds.
And just for those of you there, it's not just to honor the volcano. Actually, there's geothermal energy in El Salvador, because when you look at the amount of volcanoes from Mexico all the way down actually from Alaska all the way down the backbone of the American continent, El Salvador is dead smack in the middle of it. So they're raising funds to set up mining using geothermal energy in El Salvador, thus the volcano bonds name.
It doesn't get cheaper or more efficient than that, right? Use magma. Use liquid magma to heat up water, to spin a thingy to make electricity.
Yep. Wow. Iceland is a world leader in this, and El Salvador is following suit, guys.
Yeah.
Well done.
And by the way, every
Yes.
single form of electricity we have works off of this. Make something get really hot. Make steam. Steam spins the thingy. When steam spins the thingy, it makes electricity. Everything works that way. Everything's just spin the thingy, make electricity. You either make it hot or you just use something that's already moving, like gravity or
Absolutely. And Indo, you're right. It is part of the Ring of Fire.
the Ring of
Yes,
Fire.
around the Pacific, the entire Pacific. So all countries, all land that's surrounding the Pacific Ocean, they're all volcano filled because the Earth is moving in that direction. So well done. And they're leveraging this for technology. So, guys, it's great seeing other human beings, humankind, making the right moves while we throw away our opportunities here when we've been leaders in the world ever since World War II or prior to
Well,
World War II.
who's
So,
we? I'm not throwing it away. I'm not gonna
I
throw
know.
myself in that we. Briggs, I see you, brother.
Yeah.
The Earth is a
Thanks.
big battery.
Beautiful.
Absolutely true.
Yes, absolutely,
We
Briggs.
we live in a true abundance, and
We
I
do.
think when people just look at what's being uh, put into narrative, it really skews the way you're thinking. So that's why we try to like cover the FUD and give it perspective, because there's opportunity everywhere. There's something terrible. Every single place there's something terrible. There's some other opportunity. Like if the United States representatives are poorly representing their constituents and making bad laws, that just means there's an opportunity for another country to create good laws and to pull people over to them and
Yep.
to have their country benefit from it. So, like, just keep that in mind. We are builders. We solve problems. We don't complain about things. We have to acknowledge things that are unfortunate and just look for the solutions. And a lot of times, the solution just means you literally map out on paper whatever the problem is, and you just turn the paper upside down. There's your solution. Half the time, that's true.
Yes, and that's the problem. We're being led by old school thinking that is more selfish versus El Salvador. It's a younger generation taking the
Mhm.
lead and looking forward to and building a better future. We
Yep.
need that to happen here. So, what we're doing with DCTV is we want to be that forward thinking
Mhm.
and wake the whole country up and realize, guys,
The industry, even.
yeah, the industry, our
Mhm.
talent is leaving, is being forced to leave by some groups that are trying to either control or
Mhm.
hoard, or it's just we have to change what is happening in general and be the exception and be what we want to see, not talk about it, but actually do it. And that's what we aim to do.
Yeah. And also keep in mind too, like if a parent, the only way a parent like teaches their kids things is by spanking them, the
Yeah.
kid like won't trust the parent, right?
No, there'll be
As
anger.
opposed to like there's probably a time, to give your kid negative reinforcement, but it's better to instead say like, hey, tell you what, we have these things we need to do. Let's do these things we need to do, and when you're done with it, we'll go out for ice cream or something. Like, you give them
Right.
some positive benefit to do what they need to do anyway,
Yep.
and by doing so you instill trust, and they're just going to do what's right in the first place. And so knowing that, I think governments are kind of playing that game too, where they're like, hey, we'll just overregulate people and tell them what
Yep.
they can and can't do, as opposed to just making it beneficial for them to do the thing that's beneficial to the country in general, right?
Yeah, Gary Gensler.
And so if
Yeah.
you just get the frick out of the way and let people build and let people take care of their families and decrease government intervention, then a lot of times people just kind of find an equilibrium. The problem is most governments don't want to do that because they want to treat people like uh, unlike
Cal.
constituents. They want to treat them like because the idea is if you have constituents, you work for them,
You should. That's the
as
theory, guys.
as opposed to if you have subjects, they work for you. And so the idea here is like, are you constituents or are you subjects?
Yep.
And I think a lot of people, even in the United States, who are by the Constitution, they are constituents, not subjects. They're behaving like they're subjects. The general American public acts like the government is who
Is
they
the
have to
power.
serve, as opposed to the government has to serve the people. And so we really want to see that framework change. And if the government's not going to change the way that functions, we're just going to find ways to take our power and mind our own business, right?
And build a better future ourselves in our own
And
hands for our children.
take a drive down to El Salvador or something. So
Yeah, I'll see you there.
yeah. He's welcoming. Here's the other piece too. This could foster the growth and technological development of El Salvador as a nation for manufacturing, tech, and crypto companies operating in the country. With a no tax law applicable to the earlier mentioned sectors, innovative companies abroad are provided with the incentive to shift operations to a country with positive tax law. So you're going to see a ton of companies
Yes.
move operations to El Salvador, and you don't even have to move your country or move your family to El Salvador to do this. You can literally just pay someone to give you a mailbox in El Salvador, and you can register your business.
Actually, they made it easier, Data Lord. Mike Kaiser, who's a proponent of Bitcoin for a while now, he went down there and is a counselor to the president for the development, not just Bitcoin, but also technology. So I'm sure he was involved in this whole decision and framework. But he got residency like quickly, and there's quite a few people that I know of that have gone to get the residency. So you don't have to say goodbye to being a U.S. citizen. You can get a residency by just deploying a company down there, and they will grant it. So you don't even need. I mean, you do need a mailbox and all that stuff, but he is actually inviting these thought
welcoming
leaders,
it.
yes, and it is not hard, guys. So if you're a builder and you're in technology, look at El Salvador, and we can find links to guide you through the whole process.
Yep. Shout outs Low Roller Scratcher. I can't believe PP coin went up so fast. Yeah. Well, sometimes in the morning PP goes up, and you can't control it.
Involuntarily.
It happens. And Briggs says the government's job is to restrain evil, not rule the people. And that's true. The government's full job, at least in the United States, is to protect life, liberty, and property, which are inalienable rights.
Should be.
And so I can't physically harm you or take your life. I can't steal your things, and I can't prevent you from freely traveling down public roadways. That's, the reality of what that means. And obviously securing the borders is a big deal too, making sure that people in the country are operating by the law, and there aren't people who are not, legally in the country who don't care about the law. And so unfortunately, there's a ton of people on both sides of the political fence who don't do either of those things. So it's sad, and we need to just be principled people, right? Don't get caught with your pants down holding the PP coin. Well, yes, maybe that's the goal. Maybe the goal is you want to get caught with your pants down holding your PP coin.
Yeah,
I don't know. I do want to speak a little bit on this PP coin thing real quick. Pepe, as it's actually called, is so Bitcoin, after the Taproot upgrade, now has the ability to have like ordinals. You can put data on chain and basically have NFT function, BRC20. And so Pepe coin is a BRC20 coin. So what's funny is, even though Pepe is being used for memery, it's actually using memery to demonstrate the use case for BRC20 tokens. And there's been 103 Bitcoin added to transaction fees paid to miners because of Pepe's use case. So love it or hate it, I think we figured out how to get people to demonstrate use case. You just make a meme about it. Yeah, I get worried when my Pepe doesn't rise in the morning. I understand. Agreed. It makes me sweat. Dogecoin will make a huge comeback and have the large laugh. Dogecoin takes a long nap and then shocks the world. Yeah, and Dogecoin pumps specifically when Litecoin and Bitcoin have big movements, because there's big miners who just have script ASICs, and they move their money around that time. So there's a minor impact to that. So
we're coming close to it too.
Yeah, this is really what we wanted to talk about with this whole El Salvador matter. Like, they really are changing the framework here, and we're going to keep you up to speed on all of this. But Jaime, we should certainly look into the fine details of what it means for companies to be,
Yeah, we should look
HQ'd.
into it in our
Yeah,
efforts.
right.
And
Yeah,
share it with
I'd love
everyone
to
in the
see that.
community. Okay.
And yeah, so our next article here, Charlie Lee. Everyone knows him. Some people love him. Some people hate him. Who knows? Charlie Lee is the guy who created Litecoin. And so Litecoin creator Charlie Lee unveils price target for LTC in the next bull run. Says the altcoin has a ton of potential. And I think he's actually right about this specific article here. Not financial advice, but I'm persuaded. So Charlie Lee is providing details on how he thinks the 13th largest cryptocurrency could soar in the next bull market. Charlie Lee tells his 1 million Twitter followers that Litecoin has value because the project has established a unique niche for itself. According to Lee, Litecoin has managed to stay operational for over 10 years with no downtime, just like Bitcoin, while offering cost-effective fees. And this is why Litecoin was created. It was specifically created to be a modification of Bitcoin. It was meant to be a fork of Bitcoin that just has really low fees, and so it does not incentivize store value and incentivize transaction.
Transactions. Yep.
And so it's really brilliant. In fact, that other than the transaction fees, it's very similar to Bitcoin. It still has halvings. It still is proof of work. It can accept the same upgrades that Bitcoin receives, and so Litecoin is often used as a test net, in production to see how lots of different things work, like Taproot and Lightning Network, those types of things. It's hard to deny that there is value in Litecoin. A coin that has low fees, is a protocol compatible with Bitcoin, has the same game theoretical attack surface as Bitcoin. It's proof of work, right? Is secured with its own set of ASICs, an application-specific integrated circuit for miners, is fairly launched, meaning it doesn't have a pre-mine, and has 11.5 years of history with zero downtime. I mean, if your Pepe doesn't rise in the morning from this, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The Litecoin creator also says the LTC is currently, Jaime likes the joke.
Yeah.
Litecoin creator has also said that LTC is currently fairly priced, but he believes the altcoin has more room for growth considering it went through significant upgrades. It went through Taproot. So we have the ability to do ordinals and, ERC20 type behavior, right? We can have NFTs. The market currently values Litecoin at slightly over 1% of Bitcoin. Is that fair? I think the market is accurate today, but Litecoin has a ton of potential. It has a higher throughput by design and scalability with extension blocks and better fungibility and privacy with Mimblewimble extension blocks. So let's talk about that for a second. So Mimblewimble is a really, really, really interesting security mechanism that was first introduced with a blockchain called Beam and Grin. And I know Gundy and the OG GPU mining crew totally played around with Beam and with Grin 32, which did use Mimblewimble, and it's cool to see that finally makes its way over to a not so niche crypto like Litecoin, because it did improve security significantly.
That's the beauty.
Yeah, Mimblewimble extension block was launched in May of 2022 and is considered one of Litecoin's biggest updates. Mimblewimble extension blocks allow users to send confidential LTC transfers without revealing how much money the senders hold in their addresses. That's freaking cool. So what this does is it basically increases your privacy in your transactions, but you can still see it stored on the blockchain. So you know that it's there, you know that it can't be spoofed, but it also can't be just plainly read. And so pretty clever. Lee goes on to say that he could see Litecoin surging to as high as $719 in the next bull run. That would be impressive.
That would be.
Litecoin's right now at like, $87. So that'd be quite a move, Mex bidding. Yeah, let's see here. The Dirty Shovel Gang. Yeah, I know, dude. Litecoin is great for moving money between exchanges. BTC fees are usually much too high, and a lot of people use Dogecoin for exactly that purpose too. But Litecoin, I agree. People sleep on it because it's not particularly sexy, but that's why, in my view, it is. Like, it's
Right.
anything that doesn't have drama around it is probably actually a good technology because it's just working. Yeah, love me some LTC. Get you that Charlie, that Chucky coin. Go and get that Chucky coin, baby.
Let's do it.
I can see an upside target of 10% in the next bull run. It shouldn't be too hard to achieve. I honestly don't see it going much below 1%. $71.94 on the downside. The next halving will be in 92 days. It's even less than that now. This is going to be fun. So pay attention to Litecoin, guys. Don't freaking sleep on this stuff. I can't say this louder. If you're into altcoins, if a coin is a major coin and it's going through a halving, it might be a good idea to consider a position. Not financial advice, but considering all the facts, I'm persuaded, right?
So we'll add it to your analysis, Brandon. I mean,
it is, and we're gonna be on a routine basis going over that, right?
Yes.
But again, let's pay attention to this fact here. 89 days. I know this feels like Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, where it's just like 3 days until the moon kills us all, you know. But it's not that. 89 days remaining. So I don't know.
It's coming.
Pay attention. And again, I made a video deep diving this. You can check that out on DCTV. I did the history of Litecoin halvings. But if we are to look at this and go out to the day view, historically speaking, so this orange band here, this vertical orange guy, that is the last halving. And this yellow band here is when we really started to see it peak. Okay. So if we look at weeks, and you should think about this in terms of weeks. Okay. I know I sound like Mr. Garrison from South Park. So the second Litecoin halving here in terms of weeks was on, the first week of August in 2019. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks prior to the halving, we see it peak out. Okay. If we go over here to the first halving, we see something kind of similar. Again, we have the halving on, the third week of August, 2015. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We see it peak out right around 8. So pay attention to that historically speaking, the price action moves about 2 months, 8 weeks prior to the halving. So if that is the case, and we know that the halving is the very first week of August, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like right around here, right around the middle of June, first, second, maybe third week of June. If history actually repeats properly, I'm telling you, we can expect movement around this time. So if we are here right now, and we know that historically we've had movements of 141%, or in this case, this was ridiculous, this was like 600% nearly. We can expect that we're probably going to see some reasonable movement in this time frame here. So pay attention. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more DCA Fridays until we're probably going to see a big move up. So pay attention. That's all I can say. From Russia with love. No, from DCTV with love.
With love. I'll see you on Monday. And watch Bitcoin. Watch Bitcoin, guys.
I mean, pay attention. Things are happening right now, and it's good stuff. It's positive. It's not negative. You understand? You understand now?
Understand on the weekly? Let's go.
go.
This was produced by the Data Lord, guys. It's his
I mean, all of it is.
Blueberry Moon. Love this, man.
Keep coming. Huddle on, baby.
Oh, baby.
Ready for a saxophone solo? Yeah!
Just play your jazz, baby.